Let me now take the opportunity to introduce to all of you the topic that we are going to discuss. From FinTech to TechFin, who will shape the next decade of BFSI? Like I mentioned, this is a chat and our set of people are very, very esteemed. Let me first introduce the moderator who is going to helm this entire discussion. Please welcome Mr. Amol Dethe, editor, ETBFSI. Can we please welcome him with a round of applause? Thank you. Welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely thrilled to invite on stage Mr. Sabyasachi Goswami, the CEO of Perfios. Can we please welcome him as well with a round of applause?
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible. I have a quick question to all of you. How's the Josh? Oh, nobody's saying hi. We'll try our best to keep the Josh high here. Let me assure you that my questions are prepared by me and not by the chat GPT at all. So you will find this session quite meaningful. To begin with, I think there is a saying that the history of the history of the West was written from the saddle of the horse. But when the history of the East will be written, I think it will be written with the digital and the code, because Asia and specifically India is rising very high with the tech. And the kind of innovation that we have seen, I think it's far more competitive even to the developed world as well. So the session that we have today is specifically FinTech, TechFin, and what is going to be the future specifically for the BFSI. And that's where I have here with the Sabyasachi Goswami, the CEO of Perfios, who has been actually fueling not just FinTech, but a lot of BFSI companies and specifically the BFSI world. So he's the best person to share thoughts with us. So let me ask you specifically in terms of how do you see the future, how do you see the shift, and more importantly, who will shape up the BFSI space going ahead in future if you take a roadmap of maybe 10 years in terms of TechFin or the FinTech?
Thanks, Amol, for having me here. First, it's a very, very interesting question because the opening remark that you made, I think people just have created a little bit of noise around that all innovation happens in West. But I always say, sun rises in East and sun will continue to rise in East. So innovations will continue to happen in East. And that's the first point that I would want to make. So there are enough and more innovations that we are seeing in the last decade or so. While that's happening, I would also say it's beyond semantics when we say that whether it's a TechFin or a FinTech, in the next decade that will see the growth or fuel the growth. In this, what I would say is, earlier, at least about 2 years back, I would say, or pre-pandemic, let me say, the way the banking industry, banking and financial services industry used to work is technology as an enabler. So it has to be a tool which will enable the financial process. I think the industry, the ecosystem has graduated beyond that, and now technology is at the core and the DNA for any kind of finance. So I don't think anybody now imagines finance without a certain element of technology. So you can, depending on who the player in the ecosystem, the element of technology in terms of percentage differs. So somebody will have a 80% technology spread, somebody will have a 20% technology spread. But that's completely on that individual institution. Depending on their own sets of challenges and prerogatives, they decide what is the percent of technology that should influence or power the finance. But overall, as an ecosystem, I think technology is now at the core of finance. That's the first point. That itself leads to our answer. What will lead the next decade? Obviously, technology-powered finance. So whether we name it as TechFin or we name it as whatever, but I would say, unless we bring technology at the forefront, finance will not run. While I am harping technology, I think the biggest element that we have to remember in all of this, banking is all about trust. Unless technology brings in the element of trust and interoperability in the system, I don't think technology can run the next decade. So all tech players or bankers in the room have to remember, while we embrace technology, we have to, alongside, bring trust in the DNA of technology and interoperability as the system when we build a system. So if these two things are taken care, I think TechFin will definitely lead.
Yeah, certainly. I think that was truly meaningful, Sabya. I think I will ask you more on that. But specifically, when you spoke about trust, immediate question that I have is, and since everyone is talking about trust, will tech actually build trust? Do you think it will build, because we are talking tech for efficiency, we are talking tech about operations, making operations quite seamless. We are transferring money of 10 rupees on technology and we are very happy. बट अगर 2 रुपए अटक गए, यूपीआई से रिफंड नहीं आया, देन ट्रस्ट पूरा उड़ जाता है, राइट? सो विल टेक बिल्ड दैट ट्रस्ट?
I don't think whether they will build. I don't think that option, as citizens of the country or globally, any citizen would want to use a system which doesn't allow them to have that trust. So it is by default has to be the DNA. So while I'm saying that, or you are seeing this is a phase where people are building, people are wanting to explore, experiment multiple things, but there will be a time when without technology you cannot run, and without trust, technology cannot run. So this will kind of go hand in hand, and you will see people, even though there is that 10 rupee, 2 rupee, and 2 rupee doesn't get refunded, the system will understand, and the people in the system will understand that it may take 24 hours or 48 hours to hit the account back, but it will hit.
Right.
So that trust and awareness may not be there with you and me as a generation, but when I talk to the younger generation,
Yes.
which is just passing out from college or in school, let me not go to college, because in school also I see our kids are using through their parents
Right.
the digital transformation or the digital rails that our country provides, and they're very happy. So they will not want to walk to a branch to get that trust of a bank.
Yes.
They would want to use a mobile app and get that trust. So it's on us as tech players and as bankers, how do we transport that trust through a mobile,
Yes.
right? I think that's happening
Okay.
largely in the ecosystem.
No, I think that's the generation is making
Yes.
a big shift, and they are actually compelling the companies
Absolutely.
to companies to change. We were happy if banker ने बोला कि server बंद है, बाद में आ जाओ. We will be very happy. Lunch time है, we will go little later. But the new generation is not ready to
Now
listen
also it
to
happens. I mean,
Yes.
I just went to update a KYC. I'll just give a very recent example, just 5 days back, because I was in my hometown. And the gas agency wants the KYC to be updated because we deal with those kind of things. So he was giving some absurd reason saying the server is down. I said, which server? KYC is managed by a central server. Tell me which server. He did not have an answer. He's just giving an answer because in that small town, people believe. When I asked the next level of question, he did not have an answer. So I think those are going away slowly.
Did you by any chance give him some solution from Perfios
Of
side?
course, I said it is there. I mean, tell me, I'll solve it for you.
Sure, meaningful one. So let me come back to the core part of the conversation. Where is the demand now? What is it that the BFSI companies need today? Because where technology initially came up with is, okay, let me reduce my operation burden first, then it shifted to the customer service. Where it is today, when we speak specifically about TechFin, FinTech, what is it that the BFSI companies are looking for? What is the demand for the tech?
So I'll bucket it into three parts. One is the ecosystem and the industry is hungry about intelligence. So which in Perfios word also we call it an intelligence layer. We have products which addresses the need of intelligence. Intelligence is not just data, but beyond data also. What can you think from that data to bring that intelligence which enables the ecosystem to build new class of products. So every institutions that I go and meet, and we work with almost everyone in the country and outside India as well, we see there is, so if you go to a bank, is it just new variant of credit or debit card? Is it new variant of FD? Is it new variant of supply chain finance? Beyond that, do we talk innovation? I don't think. I mean, I have not seen. I may be punished for this once I leave the room, but I did not see that. Okay, so I think the ecosystem is hungry about new suite of product through the intelligence that anybody can provide, and we are working on that. We have products on that, which, and I don't want it to be a sales pitch here because I see a lot of friends here. So what I would say is the first is intelligence.
Right.
Second, as I said, trust layer. Trust is very important. By that, what I mean is, while we are all tom-tomming about digital and people using mobile apps and different kind of channels, the fraud has also grown up.
Yes.
And why it is important to move to digital and avert fraud, because the fraudsters are not going to do fraud or defraud you through manual mechanism anymore.
Absolutely.
Right? So all kind of deep fake, your voice is getting replicated, your images are getting replicated, your live streaming they are replicating. So you can't avoid anti-fraud solutions and say, no, I will still open an account physically. That's not going to happen because fraudsters are advanced.
Right.
So second is about any kind of trust solutions that an organization or a tech firm can provide to a financial institution.
Yes.
They're hungry for it, they're looking for it. The third is connectivity. The government is pushing, the regulators are pushing, the policymakers are pushing for inclusion.
Yes.
Without connectivity, where will the inclusion come? When I say connectivity, it is about how your manual or legacy systems or traditional systems can talk to all the intelligence and trust that I spoke in your systems. So you need to build that connectivity layer which can talk to the traditional systems with the modern age APIs, which are trying to avert fraud, which are trying to give you data intelligence. So that connectivity layer has to be built so that you ensure you can go ahead and lend in the far east of our country while avoiding fraud, while giving trust to that end consumer.
Right.
So unless you stitch these three, the intelligence, the trust, and the connectivity, I don't think anybody can service that new age customer, new to credit customer. The MSMEs, the gentleman was just asking in the room, I don't see him, that how, what is AI solving for MSME? How will it solve when these three are not talking to each other? So I think this is a very, very pertinent question that needs an answer. And I think companies like us have built many, many innovative solutions. Now is the time when we have to go take it forward and do the adoption.
Right.
Once we do that, I think this will get answered.
No, noted. I think that was very relevant one. In fact, today, while we talk about the tech and the innovation, while that story is breathtaking, spectacular, the frauds is the real worrisome factor. And it's like that, Frankenstein story. The monster was quite good. Everyone enjoyed it. But the problem is Frankenstein couldn't tame the monster, right? So technology is good. Innovation is really good. No doubt about it. But we don't know how to stop those frauds, or even no matter how many firewalls we are putting, still there are, issues. But let me shift your focus slightly on embedded finance part. That's where the big game that the BFSI companies are, paying. I mean, we couldn't have ordered the food in 10 minutes if it would not have been fueled by the, BFSI companies or the banks, if the payment wouldn't have happened. How the whole embedded finance, segment playing a bigger role in pushing BFSI to the next decade?
I have a little divergent view on this. When it is about the food app or commerce, it's relatively still easy because you are not doing that kind of credit or a very small ticket. And we have seen fraud emerging in that segment. But if you go to a little large ticket, the challenge is, how do you identify the persona in a split second while the person is still on your app or a page or a partner page that whether you should go ahead and do the credit or not, because credit is all about getting your money back. It's not about giving, because giving is distribution, very easy. If I give you 10,000 crore and say distribute, you will distribute. If I ask you, please get 10,000 crore plus 500 crore of interest, you will start thinking. And that I am saying, you have to do it in split seconds, because in 10 minutes, like food, I want a financial product delivery. So it is little nuanced. When I say nuanced, you have to think how I can do all of that and still not deprive a genuine customer who should have got that in 10 seconds or 15 seconds or 10 minutes, whatever. So I think there, what we call in the company, we are the OS for BFSI powered by AI. Now, the reason I don't want to talk that in stage, because every company, if there are 1,000 companies down, everybody is talking about AI. So it's very difficult to identify who is really powering, who is just talking, who has a solution, who doesn't have a solution. I don't have an answer. The only thing that AI has done good is a lot of things which you couldn't imagine is reimagined now through the power of AI. But as Sudarshan was mentioning the session before, that the dollar value in terms of return on investment is yet to be proven. So we don't know whether at Perfios or otherwise, any bank, the investments that we're making towards AI, are we getting the benefit that we should benefit? But what will happen there, Amol, is I feel the financial products, the new generation have very, very less patience. They would want the commerce or a food delivery kind of experience in financial products as well. Financial institutions have to open up their thinking process in terms of rewriting the policy, redesigning the policy, because it is not just technology. If you do not rewrite your policy, if you do not redesign your policy, your systems can't allow you to do credit more in 5 minutes. That's not going to, because you are only solving the system layer. You have not solved the policy layer. So you have to solve the policy layer first, then the tech layer, and then the customer awareness. If all these three is put in place, of course you will see customers getting the true benefit of 10 minutes like food app.
Since I have another important questions, but since you mentioned about the small credit and small ticket, I have to tell you this. I wrote an article 3-4 years back about buy now, don't pay later. And why I wrote that article is because I was talking to a lot of millennials and Gen Zs who told me, in fact, by the way, all of you know that 70% people who bought iPhone are bought on the EMIs, right? Similarly, a lot of these youngsters who are borrowing specifically because of the small ticket loans are available instantly, even to go for a party, even to take their girlfriend out on a date. Now, my question to them was, ठीक है, girlfriend को date पे लेके जा रहे हो, उसके लिए loan भी ले रहे हो, अब breakup हो गया तो EMI कौन pay करेगा? So that's what so risk factor was a major issue there.
No, I think to your point, that's what we were also asked to do when we launched this kind of 10 minutes product, 2 minutes product, because that time the institutions were truly focusing on efficiency.
Yes.
Right. So if there is an efficiency and there is an automation, which we call it digitization, if these two layers are taken care, people can get the instant loan for small ticket loans, buy now, pay later, whatever. Now that transformation has happened and people thinking have emerged, evolved and moved to saying, but how do I trust what you are saying, that this data analytics that you have given, I can rely on completely and the money will be back.
Yes.
Money will be repaid back. So that means you need lot more intelligence than just mere stopping at digitization. And hence I say, unless you have that intelligence, trust and connectivity that I spoke, you can't answer this truly.
Certainly. So, I mean, we spoke about FinTech, TechFin, the trust factor, intelligence, and how the BFSI shift is happening. But the important aspect that, Sabya, that I see now is big techs are also quite aggressive in the market, very competitive. And someone very senior from a monetary authority of Singapore, whom I interviewed 2-3 years back, said that no matter how many regulations that we put in place, it would be very difficult to control the big techs because of the kind of customer data they have, right? Because ultimately regulators will connect and regulate or monitor mostly the BFSI companies, not the non-regulated entities that aggressively. How do you see this competition and the competitiveness between big techs and the BFSI companies will shape up? Because the competition is very, very high there.
Thanks for asking this question first. And as Amol said, there is no preparation. He has asked the question, neither I have done any research or a chat GPT. So whatever I know of, I will talk. Whatever he knows of, he's asking, right? So let us be very candid. Competition is there. But I always feel the industry BFSI, and that's why ETBFSI I have a huge respect for. Because BFSI is a very, very interesting and a complex domain, unlike any other non-regulated domain. Well, there are many other regulated industries like healthcare and all. But for a moment, let's stay focused on BFSI. It's very, very regulatorily controlled. Hence, every product that a big tech brings to the fold, the challenge is how do you know that addresses the specific domain issues for the country and addresses the regulatory part and addresses the customer and customer demand part. I think they have also not cracked it. At this point, every big tech that they say that there's a huge spend they're doing on AI, and I face this quite often. Internally, there is a debate that every day my tech team comes and tells me, no, this has solved. When I ask 3 questions, they say, no, this is not solved. I said, so why are you coming and telling me? Which is nothing but the 3-letter word, L, L, and M. A very, very interesting word. But tell me how many LLMs, globally acknowledged LLMs, have solved India-specific problem in the BFSI? The answer is no, unless it is just customer service, which is at a very, very outer layer of the core BFSI. If you ask a very specific, deep domain analytical questions, the LLM will not work. So ultimately, you need to build a model which is very country-specific, industry-specific, domain-specific, and a use case-specific, which LLMs have not solved. That means SLMs, which many players, interesting players in our country, own country, have built and which is solving. So I don't think it is about the big tech competition. Second, I don't think it is also about how much you can spend capital to build this kind of technology. I feel the next 5 years to 10 years is all about collaborating and contributing towards the ecosystem. So if the financial institutions in a federated way anonymize their data models and data and provide it for the betterment of the ecosystem, we will stand to win. But if we don't do that, then we'll succumb to the pressure of big tech. But I think India and the Indian financial institutions are absolutely savvy, and I see a lot of federated intelligence are coming out from our own ecosystem players. As I said, if it is anonymized and can be given back for the betterment of the ecosystem, we'll be much better than any other player across the globe. So it is not about spend. It is about sharing what we know. Today we try to keep it close to our heart, saying, this is my proprietary model. But in BFSI, there is nothing called proprietary. It is for the betterment of the citizen, so that he or she can enjoy the benefit of financial instrument. So why can't we contribute our models in a federated way, in an anonymized way? And I think the world is getting there.
That was truly candid. I was not even expecting a typical FAQ type answer. So that was really good one, Sabya, and a nice thought, in fact, to think about. I will do one thing. I will take one more question with Sabya, and then take questions from you. If you have any questions, please be ready with that. If anybody has a mic, please be ready with that. So maybe one important question, Sabya, before I go to the public, the audience here is, where the BFSI companies needs to improve if they have to achieve and maybe conquer the next decade when we are saying the shift between FinTech, because there are a lot of things which they do wrong, right? And then they improve, and then we lose the time over there. A lot of FinTech started with wallets, then payments. Now everyone got into lending. Now everyone shifted to wealth, and then currencies and stable coins and everything. The BFSI companies focused a lot on cross-selling, fees income and God knows what, and then they realize, oh, this is not done, right? So what is it that you think, because you speak to them quite aggressively and diligently, so that BFSI companies can't go wrong and they will maybe do a lot of things right so that they can achieve their goal very seamlessly?
So again, I have very long answer for this, but I'll try to keep it in 2-3 points. The first is, if the BFSI or any industry for that matter, because BFSI as an industry is a very, very old industry. Look at the history, you will see a merchant doing business and then that evolving to a banking ecosystem. So banking is all about taking and giving, okay? Collecting deposits and lending money. What is missing in all of this is we have stayed the way we were doing business. That means a lot of unlearning has to happen so that the new products, I don't see new products, banking products, I'm not saying technology products,
Exactly.
banking products hitting the ground. Unless we do that, which will benefit the ecosystem, we will not see that kind of evolution in the banking ecosystem. So what we have tried so far, the innovation, is about providing convenience to our end consumer. Very good. The customer should enjoy the convenience. But beyond convenience, what does a customer need? Right. So customer need the money at the time that it needs the money. So that means the real-time credit, all that is happening. Right. But we are still not kind of realigning to the policies, what I said, redesign in terms of not systems, but also the policy. How do we address the new to credit while there is enough pressure from government and policy makers that financial inclusion has to happen? But the financial inclusion will not happen unless we try creating a product for that mass which is sitting far in East or in Kashmir, yes. Right? Which is that? Yes. So I see there is a very famous word which probably bankers hate, but the capital market loves, SIP, right? Systematic investment plan, everybody knows. But there is another word that I have coined, SIP, which is what? So everybody knows EMI, equated monthly installment. Is there a systematic or seasonal installment plan? I don't think. Everybody has a credit product. Everybody knows there is a seasonal shock. But there is, so if you go and ask a bank, they will say, working capital hai na? Usme aap kabhi bhi pay kar sakte ho in overdraft. Yeah. But is that the only solution? Why can't we think of a seasonal installment plan? You know, this industry I'm lending, these are the seasonality. Can we not drop down the EMIs that time and make a different product? So I think that is what industry needs. That is what I call innovation. So I think if that with the amalgamation of technology so that the reach is there, so that your cost of operations is less, if that is blended well, we will do fantastically well.
Yeah. Fantastic. Those were, I think, meaningful thoughts there. I think a couple of bankers I met were thinking about doing cash flow lending, seasonal lending, those who are fishermen and everything, because they don't have a business for 4 months, but the business for the another, few quarters. Let me just come to you. Anybody has any quick question for Sabya, or specifically wants to ask about what's going to be the future of BFSI? I think we have had a decent conversation, so they don't have any questions. But quickly, before I wrap up, then, we discuss the future, what will shift BFSI. What are the risks that you see, apart from what we just discussed, cyber security and how BFSI needs to innovate? What are the risks that you see for BFSI going ahead? Tech is there, innovation is there, regulations is there. In fact, a lot of support from the government and institutions is there. What will be the risks?
The risk is the time usually we take to adopt the technology and not listen to what the ground is telling us. That happens for us also as a technology company. It is not that every blame has to be shifted to large institutions. No. Even a small institution has a similar problem. Generally, what the ground says, we say, no, we sit in AC office, in headquarters, we know better. Doesn't work. So we need to have people who listen to the ground, empower them to actually innovate and build products. Second, we are still expecting the government or policy makers to create that awareness to adopt this technology, adopt this product, banking product, and lot of awareness has been created only for payments side. It's high time we do a similar kind of work on two other areas. Beyond mutual funds, we need to do a lot more on investments, and we need to do a lot more on credit. Because that's where your core infrastructure will go. And only when the core infrastructure will grow and the credit requirement will come, actually the demand will go up. I think today we lack demand, and we are trying to do from a policy level, whatever rate cuts. But we are still seeing that original demand which was there has not come back. And the reason is what? Because people are scared. Whether we blame it on US or the wars that we are seeing in the neighboring countries, including us. But I think that confidence building is important. And that confidence building, we are shifting the blame to the government of India. Unfortunately, it's for all of us as ecosystem players, how can we build that confidence so that they come and actively play the role in terms of creating that demand. That means they want to do something for the infrastructure. They can innovate, they can become entrepreneur. And hence, financial industry should be able to cater to that demand. If it's both ways, right? I will create a product, I will be an entrepreneur, but I need the financing at the right time. If the banking industry goes forward, takes 2 steps and helps, then I think that will be a game changer for us as a country.
Yeah, that was fantastic, Sabya. I think those were remarkable thoughts. Thanks for sharing that on the trust factor and maybe the demand factor and how the BFSI company should look at it. I think the company should, from where we started, I think embrace the trust factor more and take customer into confidence. Just one last example from my end is for 8 years, insurance companies were asking government to reduce the GST. Now the GST has been removed and another battle has started between the insurance companies and the intermediaries, which means that the insurance companies were getting the input tax credit, which were not passed on to the customers, and customers were feeling cheated, right? And now another battle has started. Who will, burn the cost of the GST? I think so. Trust factor matters the most, and
so,
yes.
Amol, if you remember what I said, 3 layers: the intelligence layer, the trust layer, and the connectivity layer.
Absolutely.
Unless all 3 are stitched well and solved for, I don't think the financial inclusion dream will be ever achieved. I don't think the BFSI industry will innovate the way it should. And I don't think the last mile customer will get the true benefit from the BFSI industry that they should. So it's very important to acknowledge and answer the intelligence layer, the trust layer, and the connectivity layer. And as I said, I don't want to make a sales pitch. We have products for all 3, but depends who is progressive, who is coming forward to understand, learn, and adopt.
Yeah. No, fantastic. Thank you so much for listening to us very, very patiently. The one quote which I would like to say is which Benjamin Franklin said that, write something worth reading or do something worth writing. That's more important. So thank you so much for listening to us very, very patiently. Back to you.
Thank you so much for that discussion. Write something worth reading or do something worth writing. That is something I'm going to take away with me also. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a huge round of applause. I think it was a very informative session and a much, much needed talk also. I request both of my panelists to please come forward for a photo op.